I believe was raised by somebody that's in observing or came the other day to do the ballot inspection. I'm not sure who it was. Okay. So there were, remember how we had voted on those people who had returned the incorrect ballot style due to an address change?
Correct.
And there were some that the original ballot came, but we are now holding them to see if the second one comes, if there's any evidence that would allow us to be able to accept it or not at that time.
Right. We were going to look at the signatures because there was a question of whether the person leaves the residence and then somebody moves into the residence, obtains the ballot, whether that is that person's ballot. And then we suggested, let's go ahead and at the very minimum, look at the signature to make a determination whether it could be somebody else returning the ballot.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. But there were about 9, I want to say, I think it was 10. It was 9 and then 1 that the second ballot had come back as well, and we looked at them one by one.
Okay.
So in this particular case, so we did look at it. But what they found during the inspection, and I think it is worthy of our review, is these. So this was the original ballot. It was rejected as illegal. The second one, I'm sorry, the other way around. This was the first one.
Okay.
Miscellaneous variation, which was the wrong ballot style. Okay. The second one comes in, and it was rejected for already voting because this one came in. And if you recall, we were looking at postmarks.
Okay.
And then we were making the determination of what to do with the ballots based on the postmarks.
So the signatures do match.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Those are the originals.
Yeah, no, they're identical.
Yeah. Okay. So in this particular case, there is no postmark because they were both dropped off at a secure ballot box. And so you can see that the dates were 10/15.
Okay.
And that they were received here processing evidently was, on the weekend on 10/21, same processing date.
Okay.
So with that being said, it's being brought back to us to determine whether or not we want to accept.
So is there anything that allows us to accept any statute that allows?
So here's the issue. And I'm going to put aside for the second that the facts before you show that some voter went to a site and tried to drop off 2 ballots signed by that voter at the same time.
Okay.
That's a question that's not before this canvassing board. That's for subsequent review to the extent anybody wants to have a subsequent review of that. The question before you is one of those ballots capable for you to accept? The fact that we process it by happenstance, one before the other, should not invalidate to the extent you believe one of them is a valid vote. The fact that we took the one that was from outside his precinct first because it came in at the exact same time is not something that should, in my opinion, indicate that he had voted that ballot first. You can determine that he voted the other ballot first.
Is the other ballot correct? The correct precinct?
Yes.
The other ballot's correct precinct, and according to the information, you find it to be a valid signature. I think you have the discretion to accept that ballot, to maintain the wrong precinct as rejected for both wrong precinct and because it's a second vote. And those will be kept for whatever purposes somebody wants to pursue later. But I think you can accept the one that was just processed contemporaneously as a valid vote should you choose to do so.
Okay. I move to accept the ballot from the correct precinct solely, and this is a separate and unique situation where they both have the same date and practically the same time.
Yeah.
The same time.
Yeah,
actually.
the same date that they were dropped
Same
off
date,
and the same date that
time.
they were processed.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and vote to accept the one for the correct precinct.
I'll second that with the
caveat.
added, no, not caveat, with the added information that the entire board has looked at the signatures. We are unable to determine which one came in first. One of them is from the correct precinct and has the signature on file that matches what we have, and so I'll second the motion.
Okay, I agree. This one will remain rejected as we've already determined. Let's stamp accepted on this one. And yes,
Good morning. On behalf of the Trump campaign, we'd just like for the minutes to make sure that the minutes reflect the identity of this ballot.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and then there was a second ballot, and I don't think that there's any action to be taken on this one, but just to close the loop on the inquiry, is that there were 2 stamps on this. So what happened in this particular case is that the ballot was brought before us for signature doesn't match. That we voted and it was accepted. So at that point, it received the accepted stamp on it. But it's a overseas ballot, so when the ballot was removed from the envelope to be duplicated is when it was determined that it was an incorrect ballot style that was returned. So again, these things happen with the emailed ballots. They share them evidently. I don't know how they get their hands on them. But at that point, it came back to the board as wrong style. And so at that point, we rejected it. So I think in this particular case, I move that we just cross this out and the rejection stays. Okay, correct. And with that, we can begin with the batch.
I'm just not sure I realize which ballot you're talking about. Maybe just take a quick look.
Sure.
Thank you.
I think there was confusion and I understand that there was 2 stamps on it, accepted and rejected. Yep.
Liz, what do you have for us?
With that said, I'd like to ask the board, would you like to proceed with the canvassing of the signature does not match? Or would you like to start with voter intent and remote?
We can do as we always do, with your signature does not match.
Okay. Can you leave
Like that one time.
the remote know that?
Yeah, I can do it right there.
Oh, I'm sorry, remote. Good morning.
That's what we always.
Okay, we're starting off with letter A. First category, signature does not match, letter A.
There's no,
Can we request again?
You wanna look at these again, Alan?
Yes. Is this a side breaker?
No, I haven't seen it.
I'm struggling. I mean, you maybe.
Yep, I can do it.
It is now. Here's this. I see that the S, it's kind of like the S here and the S here, they look similar.
I think just make sure
Yeah.
you keep the
Yeah.
paper. So that. That would be the only thing. Maybe.
Yeah.
I would keep them together to keep the picture all on one thing, just to keep it identified. Easier for me to set up.
We're entering the B.
The E's, that's what
Yeah,
I.
Entering the C.
yeah. The way they do their numbers is very similar.
So that's proximity one.
Yeah. Yeah, I see the,
Let's see on the table.
I can do the piece.
My screen. Entering the B's, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yes, I do.
Oh, no, that's a no example.
Oh, yes. Got it.
Yes, there is no.
Yeah.
Do you see anything? No, unfortunately. Only no on this.
Entering the E's.
I'm gonna guess on a score.
Yeah.
Entering the F.
Right now, we know, is it that side or that side, right? That's fine. Yeah, but is there anything that you see that fits trying? I mean, I feel like here and here, but I don't know why it would be over here on this side, but there's. You're closed. You're looking out, okay, that's, I don't know. Wow, really? The only thing I see similar is the green. Oh, it's little than That's the only thing I see. Sorry, maybe this is this. Nice try. Yeah, yeah, it's the same thing. I try to find any.
I know, I know.
Anything.
I know.
Entering the G's.
Oh, we have no X?
I'm gonna make it easy for you.
Okay, good.
I'm sorry.
No X. No X.
You see how the D is separated?
Yes, I see it. Okay. No X. All those are X's.
I see the acento. Same A.
These are the same.
Yeah, yeah. Wait.
It's very legal, very strategic, very. I don't see anything on this. You can see the sort of same side.
Yeah, yeah.
Very glossy red.
Enter the H.
That one, I guess.
There is no I, there is no J. There is a K. Entering the K.
difficult.
I could do this.
Okay, the way they can do it.
Entry else. Repeat it back in the envelope. That's just overseas, I can try to figure out.
What do we match this with?
Jesus, really? I could do this.
Yeah, yeah. Wait. Hard. That's area.
Which is his first name? Just put his first name. There's not even the same letter. Yeah? This is a no.
Let's go.
Big A.
Entry in the end.
Right up here.
Name number 2.
The A looks, I mean,
Yeah, the little A.
yeah, it kind of slant. Yeah, I get it.
This one here with little A right here.
Yeah, good. Close proximity. Yes, on this one.
Entry in the end.
Yes, on that one. This is a yes.
There is no O.
I can see it.
Entering the P's.
Perfect. Okay. Anybody tell them? Voter. No go by mail. Mr. Jackson. Yes, on this verbal scrabble.
There is no Q.
Do you agree?
On
Yes,
ours?
this scribble? Like a 7? Yes.
Signing this name.
Yeah, that's good. Wow. She knows? She said yes.
With the email address and then the printed name. The J. I think for the P or something.
Ours.
Do the yes. Those proximities, yeah. The only thing I see is the hook and the S. Yeah.
One S. There is no TU.
Right there.
Entry to B.
I think it's Y with S. Can you find out if there's an S name person? It says Seagull. Yes. No, it just looks like a map.
Where does the close proximity?
On the backside. Oh, there is a signature.
Somebody else at this.
Maybe it's this CF and this CFS is the same.
Yes, absolutely. This is the same thing.
On the last B, there is no W, X, Y, or Z.
This be your, yes, yeah, look at it.
With that, we conclude the 50 signature does not match. Moving on to the next category, no votes by mail request on file for a total of. Each one of these voters have returned a ballot, but they do not have a vote request on file.
How they go.
Questions asked. We have a question from the observers.
Yes,
So the first.
but your name and the party.
Right
It's a-
here. Right, you're running, right here. So the first ballot.
No, they can't hear you.
Sorry. Sorry.
Just use the Broadway
I
voice.
can talk louder, I can talk much louder.
All right, okay.
So the first ballot we have, it's filled in by Yorkis Garcia, and the intended voter was a Celestina Diaz. And then the last ballot I just saw, it was the reverse. Celestina Diaz filled in Yorkis Garcia, and the address is the same.
Okay.
One is a permanent absentee voter, and the other is a temporary absentee voter.
This is it?
That's the last one.
Okay. Where's the other one? They want to see if the other voter has an X on file.
Yorkis Garcia, and
No,
then
no.
Celestina Diaz, so G and D.
Yorkis, Garcia, and Celestina.
Okay, this one that I see here
Is an X.
is Yorkis Garcia with an X. And what we have on file is Yorkis Garcia, no X on file. Was that your question?
Well, the signatures don't, yeah. No,
Right.
you said what the ballot.
All right, just give us a second. Let's look at the addresses.
No, wait, before you look at the address.
No X on file.
This ballot is Yorkis Garcia. They signed with an X. What we're given by, which is the referral sheet, states Yorkis Garcia, no X.
So we can't accept it.
So we can't accept it, and that's why it's a
Reject.
soft reject, so that they can have an opportunity to cure it. Was there something else with regards to this one before I move to the other one?
No.
Okay, all right. So,
I think, Judge.
and I'm sorry, I might not understand.
I think they're saying that it was a switch ballot, that they're both, that those two are switched, and wanted us to check if they were at the same address, the same ballot style, to see if they had just switched the ballots. That's what
We,
I,
we're happy to do the research, but just so you know, even if you switch the signatures, they both put an X and they're both not matching.
Right.
So even if you switched them, it's the
We're still
end
gonna
result
say-
is the same.
Right.
Signature doesn't match.
does that resolve your request?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Why are we not doing? Yeah. I'm sorry. Where are we at now? We're on, no vote by mail request.
Oh,
No vote by mail request on file.
alright. Hold on. On this one. This is a signature that they vote here at the precinct, right?
No, that's just the registration.
Okay, this is the registration signature, and then, right, that they use when they vote here.
When
When
they
they register.
when they register, right.
But these,
So then
they
on
never
this one-
requested a.
Oh, this category is no vote by
This
mail
is
request on file.
Sylvia's ballot, and this is Sylvia, okay? And it looks like Yebra signed.
Okay,
But it's, they don't have those requests on file.
but this is Sylvia, and the signature Sylvia.
The signature is Sylvia. So why do they think it's, oh, it is Sylvia. I'm sorry, I thought it was Yebra. Sylvia Reyes. Maybe it's a different, oh, Sylvia Reyes Yebra. Sylvia Reyes Yebra. I don't know, we need an answer for this one.
No vote by
There's
mail
no vote by
request
mail
on file.
on file.
Okay.
So it's just. Am I wrong?
No, no
Would you want me
vote
to double check?
request.
Okay.
Okay, this one also has no vote by mail request on file, if you wanna check that one out.
Yeah, because it's the same signature.
This one was that it was for Alan. And I guess they scratched Alan and they put Larry, and Larry signed it, and that's why Larry matches.
Okay,
But Larry doesn't have a request on file. This is
Okay, so that one we
Alan's, so
have to
this one
reject.
is understood, right? Right?
So then,
Yes,
yes,
yes.
yeah.
And then the third one,
these two.
and that one's okay, or is it the same?
It's the same signature?
No,
So this was Sandy's ballot.
right.
Oh, did they get both? Oh, and they're just showing that this person doesn't have a request. on file. So this was Sandy's ballot. Rosalva, I guess, signed it, Rosalva Escobar. And this is Rosalva's signature, so you can see that it is
Okay.
Rosalva.
And
But they don't have a
Rosalba does not
request.
have-
Don't have a request, right.
Okay, so
So
that
that
one has
one's
to be rejected.
That's the one. we're
This
gonna-
is the one.
Okay, no problem. So they'll do more research on that one. Okay, so. We'll just focus on the side.
Okay, so no, but.
You said, do you have any
Okay, wait,
questions
the
for
third
the
one,
council board?
the third one.
If
Yeah,
they
the third
have any
one,
questions
yeah,
for the council board?
You're gonna have, yes,
Okay, so I believe it's the same day and last day, but the middle name is the one that's different.
okay, so same first name, different middle.
I think so, yes. Yes. One is with the J, and the other one is with an I.
Okay, so
Which
this,
one?
this person's ballot is the one with the J.
With the one with J,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, so that's the one they gave us.
Yes, and that's like the only signature on file.
Okay, now go to the one with the
I,
I.
that's all they have.
Can you zoom in a little bit?
And which one has a request on file?
Okay, that's this one.
Phil Kovna. Right.
But does
that's
this
that one.
one have a request on file?
No.
Okay. No, okay. So then we'll leave it here for the affidavit.
Right,
Categories are not.
The,
Signature doesn't match.
no. No voter, no, request
no,
on
we're
file.
gonna do the signature doesn't match, so to at least give them an opportunity to cure the signature.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I just want to make sure.
I'd like to ask for additional review of this particular ballot. This is a person where they printed their, in the signature box, but there is still a similarity. It's a very short name and the letter Y is similar from the printing to the signature on file.
What are you looking at, the back?
Yes, the small envelope, right.
I'm looking at the back.
Correct.
Okay,
In the signature block, the Y looks similar to the Y as in the signature. It's larger than the other letters and it's distinctive. It's,
the WC,
No, the
oh,
Y.
we did not see that. We saw the signature on file
okay,
and then the
I'm
envelope.
looking at the envelope.
Correct,
This is what we see.
correct.
So you believe that ARYEH is similar to WC?
Oh, that to us doesn't look like a WC. It looks like that's a Y that's in the middle, a prominent Y, and that's the most distinctive part of the signature in both ballots.
In other words, it's similar to me, but.
I just don't see a Y. I see a W or a W and a C. I know, but this is this.
The voter has a Y in their name, so it looked to us like you
The
know,
voter's name is ARYEH. And I'm gonna give this to her so she can give it to you. What I see here is a clear W. And then a separate letter is a C. Like I don't see a line to go under the W's that it could be maybe an LYC. And the name is ARYEH. And this here looks to be another W. And then a C right here that would kind of mimic these two. But I mean, I'll let you look at it again so you can see what I at least saw, but I don't know what the ladies next to me saw.
I think we just did it for the same.
Yeah.
Okay, another.
We're gonna move on to the next category, which is unknown voter, and here's a total of 5 ballots, of which staff has reviewed and has not been able to determine by any markings who the voter is.
Just to reject that, there's no information.
You don't want to. Any something more?
That's reject.
That's an opportunity to look at that. When we look at it, we understand what you see, but there's neither a W nor a C in the actual voter's name. And so the way we look at it, it looks like a Y and an L that's in a curved kind of format. So in our view, it is the same signature. It's the same person.
I understand, and sometimes when I look at the signature, I'm not even reading the name. I'm looking at the consistency. For example, if the name is George or John, and they sign Mickey Mouse, if they registered with the name Mickey and they want to be called Mickey, I will accept Mickey as long as it's the same as it is on the ballot that they return. So I don't really look to see always whether the name is the exact name. They might prefer to be called something else, and I can respect that. What I look at is the style of the signature, whether the letter is of a certain way, whether the slant of the letter is a certain way, anything that even looks remotely. And when I saw that one, the one that you're referring to, it seemed as if it was, to me, what looked to be a W and then a separate letter, not together, as a C. And when they submitted the vote by mail ballot, to me, it looked like they hand printed their first name, which did not correlate to me did not look anything even remotely like the signature that is on file with them. I mean, there's many times, and I've said it numerous times, that I use the registration that they submit where they handwrite, you know, their full name, John Smith. And I use that when they sometimes, instead of signing, they handwrite their name, John Smith. So even if the signature is completely different, the fact that when they registered, they wrote it by hand, John Smith, I take that type, that style, that font, and I match it to the handwritten one. So I try to look at any, even the most, you know, sometimes even the name is different, but the way they slant an accent on the last name is similar, and I'll take that, you know, because it's, they might scribble it and then they have that distinct accent. We've had signatures where it's just a happy face, and I'll accept that too, if there's a happy face on file, or a, what is it that we see a lot, 2 lines, or a triangle and 2 dots, something like that. A triangle and 2 dots, I'll accept that as well. So, but thank you.
Thank you. So they could not match the notified unless only
Moving on to the next category is already voted via VBM for a total of 16. In this particular category, voter is returning a second VBM. Their first VBM was accepted.
on all of them.
They requested, yeah.
So this, do we have the information from the? This is the
Yes,
second, this is the first one?
Yes.
Okay,
And
so let's
remember,
grab
you
that
see
one.
a signature?
So that
So
we'll
it's
show you.
correct.
Okay. Oh, okay, so.
Okay, already voted.
Okay. So already voted.
So we've already got some.
Yeah. So they accepted the already voted.
Is that the circumstance of all of these?
Yeah.
These are all accepted?
And they were all accepted. So this one voted already and this one came in.
I'm sure it's right. And that one feels empty, by the way. Right?
By the way, this package right.
Okay.
So this one voted. It was returned on October 16th.
They voted October 19 on this.
No, it's October 27th. Okay, so this is already voted. This one is returned on October 6th. And this one October 27th.
The ones that we're doing right now, just so that you know, are the ones that have already voted. They have already been given credit for the initial vote. And now we're rejecting the second vote by mail that came in.
So this one voted, it was returned October 9th.
Okay.
Accepted. October 22nd of 7. When did this person vote? On 10/20.
10/25, and this one came in 10/27. 10/25 first vote, second vote 10/27.
It doesn't matter which one comes in, that might be what's confusing you. It could be either the first one or the second one, if I'm same style.
So we just have the computer printout of when they voted. So 10/23. October 20th, that's okay. Returns October 2nd. December 8th, October 29th. Yep. Double check. It's nine to get her to say because she's a correct. October 29th. This one's received October 28th, but where's the date that we know that they voted here? Oh, oh, here? Do we know the date that they voted on this?
This is the last one. Next category. The next category is registered after vote closing for the November 3rd general election. Vote closing was October 5th, which is 29 days prior to the election. This particular voter registered on October 12th.
This is a US House voter who got the ballot by email, not from one that we sent, but from somewhere.
Correct.
So they're not a registered voter in this election. And
For
they're not,
vote.
They're not eligible to vote in select.
and they, that's
Our last category is deceased. This one, the ballot was mailed on this day.
the first.
Deceased 10/13, return 10/27.
When is it posted?
It was dropped off at the ED site.
And 26. And 26. All right, we have to reach out yesterday.
On the second one, it's the same situation. So this ballot was mailed 10/1, deceased 10/3, returned 10/27, dropped off at the EV site.
The person is matched by date of birth, social security number, and address. There's a death certificate number. We'll reach out.
These are the ones.
So with that, we've concluded my portion of the 77 ballots, and Ramon will be bringing along the voter intent. Is he in the room? No. Okay.
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute break. It is now 10:50.
We're doing research on one ballot.
All right, well, are we done with the
I
research?
have a question. Well, they can tell us.
Yes.
No problem.
Madam Chair, a couple quick matters. First of all, pertaining to the first group that we talked about at the beginning, the first group of those 122 or so ballots which the board voted to defer on. We did begin a document review process on Wednesday, and from that, we identified a couple of votes that you brought back today. Although we haven't finished our review yet, in that limited review that we've already done, we discovered a handful of ballots seem to have been cast by someone who is not the voter. Our request is, or our ask is, can those voters, the actual intended voters, be given a cure letter? We can give you the names of the ones that we believe are obvious mismatches. I don't know staff could look at them or the board could look at them. So in the meantime, those people can be notified that there may have been a mismatch.
So this is not a cure letter situation under the statute. The statute has a cure for a mismatched signature. The statute has a cure for a non-signature. The statute doesn't have a cure affidavit for a voter who has voted the wrong precinct. And I recognize that you are arguing that there is no, that you believe, based on your review, no other information from what I understand, that this is not the voter who submitted. You know, I think that is insufficient for the canvassing board to rely on in making a determination on that ballot. Should that voter attempt to vote another ballot, should that voter come forward and provide evidence that that voter did not vote this ballot, I think the canvassing board can consider it. But I don't know that there's a pure affidavit that the canvassing board can direct the supervisor to provide to that voter that's set forth in Florida law.
Okay, I have a question. And this is to the supervisor of elections. If a voter comes to the election department and says, my ballot was stolen, I need to obtain a ballot because my ballot was stolen. Okay, I assume they could do that.
We would instruct them to vote a provisional ballot.
Okay.
And that would come before us, and we would take all the evidence that we have before us, including any testimony from that voter, and we could decide whether or not to accept the provisional.
So that's something that the voter can do to cure any issue with regard to a stolen ballot.
And then if the vote in this circumstance, if the voter that it was intended for did receive that second ballot at their new address, and it was returned to us, it's going to be matched up with the original as we've held them aside now. And again, both ballots will come back to us and we'll look at them both in their entirety and then decide what we want to do.
Right.
I think I understand what everyone is saying. I guess the issue is the voter is, for the time being, not being advised that a ballot has been recorded not only for this, and therefore locked out, whether it's officially a pure affidavit or some other kind of notification. It would seem fair and reasonable to alert the voters. And, you know, I'm not saying you should necessarily take our word for it for the mismatch. We would, of course, invite staff and the board. We would ask that happen, to look at them for
You're an
themselves.
officer of the court. I take your word. You're an officer of the court, and I take your word very serious. With this canvassing board, you have very high prestige, and I understand what you're saying at all times. What I say as chair of the canvassing board, I can only state with regards to what comes before me, and I can only state with regards to whether something is going to be accepted or not. The procedure that the elections department uses, that is beyond, I believe, what jurisdiction I'm allowed to determine should be done or not. That would be something that falls on the supervisor of elections. And I think that it has already been answered with regards to if somebody feels and finds that their ballot has been stolen, they have every right to come forward and not only reach out to the state attorney's office, but also reach out to the supervisor of elections and obtain a new ballot. And that's something that would then fall within our ability to review and make a determination whether it can be accepted or not.
But I think their issue is that the voter will never know. And so who has the onus of telling that voter? I don't know necessarily that there's a procedure in place specifically with that. So that I think would be something that you all would have to take up with the election
I
department.
also think that the voters in any election, when they submit a vote by mail, they assume that their own personal vote by mail came in, was reviewed, and was either accepted or rejected. And I think that there is a way that the voter can contact the elections department just to make sure that they receive the vote. Isn't there a phone number?
Yeah, well, they can call us. They also can track their ballot online, which we've been heavily promoting, so they would see that on there as well. But the way that I view the scenario you're describing is that they wouldn't know, because now they have their second ballot and they're going to vote that second ballot, not knowing what happened with the first one. So when that ballot comes in, we will look at it. We will look at it on its face. We will look at the original ballot on its face. And if we see that the signature matches on one and maybe not the other one at all, then we can make that decision at that time.
So I guess
Or
encourage
if they
voters
go
to go online and check to make sure that their ballots was received. That would be something that should be done.
I think the flaw in the analysis, the logical flaw in the request analysis is that it is the vote from the voter that's being rejected because it wasn't that voter's vote. If it wasn't that voter's vote and the voter never responded, if the voter was going to choose to vote, he's still free to go and choose to vote in any way he can. If the voter was not going to choose to vote, having that information is irrelevant to that voter's choice whether or not to go and vote or not. And picking out particular people and calling them with particular information, that raises its own host of issues, and that's something for the supervisor to consider, but I think we've already gotten that answer. I'm just unaware of what beneficial gain there is in creating a process that's not provided for in the law for contacting that voter under the assumption that it wasn't this voter. Because if the voter gets no call and the voter was just going to proceed as they were regularly, they would either choose to go to vote or choose not to go to vote. So having the information that somebody else, if it even is somebody else who cast their ballot, provides no additional information for that voter and no additional direction for that voter to act.
I can respond because I think there are some scenarios which actually answer a lot of what was said. You may have a situation where there's an explanation that is innocent. It's not about a stolen ballot. For example, I think we've identified at least one, likely more, at least two. You may have a situation where you have two people that are in the same household. We have two people with the same last name. It may have been that the original actual voter has left or moved out. The relative, seems to be a relative, same last name, is still there. They have this old ballot. They might have a conversation. I got your ballot. Oh, well, can you vote it this way for me? Or I'll fill it out. Can you send, I left it there. Can you send it out? There may be numerous, I left the ballot, I didn't put it in the mail. There may be numerous innocent situations, not stolen ballots, where the actual intended voter thinks his vote has been cast, maybe inaccurately, maybe under a misconception.
Jason, what you're describing is a crime.
Well,
You cannot vote by proxy.
it's not, well, there could be other scenarios where it's innocent. Can you just drop this in the mail for me? And the person added additional information. Again, not evil intent, but still a misunderstanding where the intended voter believes his vote has been cast, but now it hasn't been. And all we're suggesting is, whether it's within the canvassing board's jurisdiction or not, I don't think there's anything in the law that would prohibit the Department of Supervisor elections from contacting these voters and indicate, we've received this ballot, it was your ballot, but it appears to have been returned by someone else. And it may not be a formal cure affidavit, but it can be some other kind of cure notification, just to alert the voter this has happened. So there may be these innocent explanations, and the voter unknowingly will not have an opportunity to cast their vote. So we would make that request at least to staff, if not to the board.
Okay.
And we can tell you the names of those people, and you can look at them for yourself and make your own assessment if you agree that they're missing.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so, do we have an answer with regards to the one we were reviewing? Yeah, we'll do it. Okay. We're gonna take a 10-minute break. It is now 11 o'clock on the dot, still October 30th, 2020. We'll be back at 11:10. Thank you, everybody.
Finish what you're notating. We can do that when we come back.
All rise.